Welcome back to Sarita in the Stream. This is the kind of show you can sit back with a cup of coffee and listen to some of the funny, serious, or compelling things that come out of our mouths. Everyone seems to resonate with the subjects we pick, and we do it carefully and thoughtfully every week for your entertainment. Sit back, enjoy that coffee, and listen to us here on Sarita in the Stream. Welcome back to another episode of Sarita in the Stream. This one's going to be a little more upbeat than the last one, which was a very serious subject about Stockholm Syndrome. But the corollary here is this has something to do with that subject in a weird, fun way. We're back to our old sitcom critique series. And we're going to go way, way, way back in the Wayback Machine when it started out in black and white. And it was a really fun show that everyone loved to watch, the Beverly Hillbillies.
We loved that show. Granny and
everybody did.
Jed and Ellie Mae.
Oh, it was so good. I mean, Jed Clampett and Jethro Bodine, and his oddly sexual, step cousin, I believe it was. Jethro was the nephew,
right?
And grandson.
Yep.
And it was a really fun show to watch. And on the outside, Beverly Hillbillies was just super entertaining, right? But on the inside, there's all sorts of weird shit going on, right? Here's a poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed, and then one day he was shooting at some food, and what came up? Some bubbling crude, and black gold Texas tea, that is. Anyway, according to the legendary song by Earl Scruggs and Lester Flatt, that was this kind of rags to riches story about a guy being on the right piece of property at the right time and discovering oil. Well, instead of just staying back in the Ozarks where he was from, he decided to go to Beverly Hills, California, of all places, and just set up shop. And Sarita, take it from here about Mr. Drysdale.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about this, and I want to remind everybody, and we should just watch this with everybody and, have a live thing.
Oh, we should
too.
have a live, for sure.
So Mr. Drysdale came out on the pilot episode and, told Jed Clampett that there was oil on their property and that he would purchase the property and, set them up in a really nice modern place where everybody wants to live, and they'd have enough money to not work as hard as they have been. And it's like one of those offers that you can't refuse. But what they got instead was the headache of owning a McMansion in Beverly Hills, which is what the story, right? That's what the episode is.
Right.
But just going back to that pilot episode, and especially with what's happening right now, right, where people get a little bit of money and they think, ooh, I'm going to go buy that big house. I'm going to go buy that boat. I'm going to buy that thing. And they're not thinking about what it's going to cost to maintain.
What the implications are.
Yep.
You can't have a cement pond in your house and not figure you're going to pay someone to clean it.
Oh, my God.
No, I mean, and here's the funny thing. The devil comes, again, we're going to be talking about the devil along with our Gilligan's Island episode, was the devil comes in a very nicely manicured suit.
He came in a nice suit, Mr. Drysdale. He was completely buttoned up. He was so polite. He was so nice to Granny and to Jed. He did not make them feel like, hillbillies.
Right.
And he became their friend, and he helped them hire people for the mansion, too.
Right. And then he had a foil, Miss Hathaway. Mm-hmm. And she was like the angel on the shoulder, and he was the little devil on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. And every time he would try to swindle the Clampett family, she'd step in and do something, which I found funny because she could have done more. But it was just like, oh, I'm going to stop Mr. Drysdale from doing this thing bad against the Clampetts.
Right.
But no further. In the next episode, it'd be another, antic, quote unquote. Well, not an antic. He was trying to steal all their money.
He was trying to steal all their money slowly.
Right.
Under the guise of managing it.
Right.
And helping them acclimate to their new surroundings.
It's kind of a prescient tale for, all the advertisements you see on TV now about, oh, we're, honest money managers. We're going to take care of you. These people make big money doing that.
Yeah.
They're not paying $1 million ads just out of the kindness of their heart.
No, they're not. And, again, it's a cyclical occurrence, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at history, and that's why I think that the timing of some of these sitcoms that we're on is really important to look at, because those sitcoms were culturally important to present in every family's home.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was also during a time of great social upward movement, when people were actually making good money for once, and they were really moving up in society, and they're, looking to attain these goals and looking to get, these trappings of wealth, But in a really good way, I think I think the director of that was Sherwood Schwartz, and the way they kind of turned the tables. I don't think it was as nefarious, perhaps, as the underlying messaging in Gilligan's Island, which I'm still kind of like banding around in my head,
Well, I don't either. But if we look at anything and how it evolves, that was in the Clampetts were early, right? That was before Gilligan's Island.
Actually, not that much earlier,
Not that much earlier.
Maybe a year, because remember, people confuse it. They think Gilligan's Island came out later. It did not. It was like, I believe, I'll check it on the internet right now, but I think it was 1963.
Okay. So, all right. So take that back. But, they have to test out how this is going to work out in the public venue.
Yeah.
And so those writers probably had more to say about the storylines and how nefarious or how unnefarious. Like, there were more checks and balances, I think. It's not like they just wanted to completely rape the viewers immediately. It was longer. It was more thought out. It wasn't as nefarious as, like, say, some of the shows that you watch today.
Right.
Oh my God, today's shows are just...
They're trash.
I can't even watch them.
No, they're awful. I mean, it was really bad. Okay, so according to the interweb, Gilligan's Island originally started in 1964 to April 1967. It only ran for three years, 98 episodes. The Beverly Hillbillies does predate by 2 years, 1962 to 1971, so it had a much longer run. Mm-hmm. But I believe all of the early episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies are all in black and white, like season 1, I believe.
Okay.
But who knows? It's just a strange thing about uplifting the populace, right? Mm-hmm. And giving them messaging that they like and they think it's entertaining. Are they life lessons? I don't know if they're life lessons for the Beverly Hillbillies, because every time diversity was thrown at them, with people trying to steal money or trying to marry Jethro, all these floozies trying to marry Jethro. Meanwhile, the foil, Miss Hathaway, is secretly in love with Jethro, it was like they always had solutions, right? When in a real world, somebody got over on somebody, right?
Wait a minute. So they always had solutions
to whatever diversity and problem. It always worked out. It was in the perfect story arc, in other words.
Correct.
Intro, problem, drama, problem solving.
Right.
The classic kind of artistic,
happily ever after.
Yeah, a theater kind of thing. But it's interesting because there was always someone also, like the nefarious relatives that would come in, from wherever they were supposed to be, from Arkansas or whatever, and like, oh, hey, what's up, Jethro? I'm going to make you a movie star, or whatever it was, and there was always something trying to break them up, steal their money, steal their girls, take Ellie Mae away, marry her, and get all the money. or something. And then Mr. Drysdale always had other foils that were actually people he thought he respected and were on his kind of thievery level, but were actually kind of much more empathetic to Jed.
Right.
You know?
So Drysdale couldn't get what he wanted as quickly as he probably planned out, because there were all these other characters who were being their own human self, whether they had their own agenda to get some of the money, or they, like you said, they felt sorry for the treatment because they could see something different. So Drysdale is the perfect character in here, who you could see him getting more and more frustrated year after year, because he was just like, I just don't want to work this hard for the money.
No, exactly. He did not want to do that. He wanted it as all. Easy, quick, clean, and they could go back to the Ozarks, and he'd never have to see him anymore, and he'd just be richer. It wasn't that he wasn't already rich. He'd just be richer.
Right.
And that greed level was just like, I need more. Feed me more. Feed me, Seymour. I need more.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I just think it was just really interesting. And by the way, it was done by Sherwood Schwartz, who also did Gilligan's Island. And Eileen Ryan, who played Granny, you know, she was significantly younger than she appeared. I believe at the time Eileen Ryan was something like 52.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there it is again. I mean, people only know Eileen as Granny.
Right.
Like, if you saw her in real life, you wouldn't believe it.
Well, you wouldn't recognize her.
Yeah.
You wouldn't recognize her at all. She was also another actress, much like Natalie Schaefer, who was Mrs. Howell, and Jim Backus and Alan Hale, who was the captain, and obviously Jed Clampett, you know, who was, what was his name? Why am I blanking on? He was the original Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz.
Oh, right. Okay, so there we have this identity politics thing happening, and I know there's a name for it, but where we have associated...
Buddy Ebsen, sorry to interrupt.
Buddy Ebsen.
And you know who Max Baer was, right? Was Jethro. Uh-huh. His father was the world-famous fighter who beat up the Nazi in the 1936 Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Is this one big circus of actors?
Well, it was. I mean, back then it was Donna Douglas was, you know, she was the, what's her name? Ellie Mae. And Buddy Ebsen was just like a star. All of these people were actors, like real stage, screen actors. And then they belittled themselves and went down to TV. You know, it's interesting. I'm sorry, I cut you off, though, because I had to interject that.
No, that's okay. But, you know, isn't it interesting how they called it belittling to go to TV when TV was the exposure to the larger audience?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's always funny to me when they use names like that, like, oh, these poor people have to be on TV. Well, they became overnight household names, and there was a reputation attached to each one of those characters that literally never left some people. You know, people would walk up to Granny, you know, in costume, and they felt like they knew her as Granny, like she was their Granny too. And that's what I feel like we're also watching with our celebrities today. It's like people don't know who Donald Trump is. They don't know who Jeff Bezos is, but they sure do act like they know these people.
Isn't that weird? That is very weird. You're right. They act like they know him.
Yeah.
Like the president or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. They're like, oh, I know how Bill Gates thinks. No, you don't.
No, they don't.
No, you don't. You don't know anything about him. You don't know what any of these people are up to in their head or in their business minds. And that's, by the way, Max Baer, who played Jethro, was the son of Max Baer Sr., who was the famous fighter. And he grew up, I believe, in Oakland or something. In Oakland, California. He was born in Oakland. Yeah, I know. It's interesting, isn't it? There's also this whole thing about, you know, aspirational target venues for life, right? Like Marin County or the Hamptons or Beverly Hills or Laguna Beach and all these things. I don't know because I was too young at the time, but do you think this was actually kind of an advertisement for Beverly Hills? It was already kind of established as the place of the stars. But was it an actual kind of thing where it was engineered to make it more approachable.
That's pretty. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But yeah, I do, because it was the first time that really Beverly Hills was, that look at what happened after that. Bijan and Rodeo Drive and having that be a stop on the Hollywood tourist map agenda, right?
Right.
Come to Hollywood and you have all these attractions. It did become the place for people as soon as they had a little money. They've made it.
Right.
So, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Here's another interesting factoid that I actually didn't know until right now. Granny's given name in the show was always Granny, right? Mm-hmm. But you know what her real name was in the show? Daisy Moses.
Daisy Moses.
Yeah. Like she's got, it's an interesting kind of play on words in that she was like a homespun girl's name, Daisy, combined with the knowledge base of Moses. And with that, we're going to go to Ba, our commentary on the right-hand side here, about someone who brings some really good homespun knowledge to these things. Hi, Ba.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Ba. It's always nice to have you on set here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here.
And I love to hear your voice, and I love your suggestion and everything.
Thank you, Ba. Well, that's our Daisy Moses here in the studio, and we'd like to have her in here every time, which is looks like we're going to have our Ba here every time, which is fantastic. There are so many things that come up, and by the way, I do think the producer of this show was actually not Sherwood Schwartz. It might have been, but Al Simon and Martin Ransohoff were the executive producers on this show, which I didn't know their name. But the Ballad of Jed Clampett was written prior to by Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and sung by Jerry Scoggins before the show was even out, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean they're shoehorning it in there, right? It was the B-side of Coal Loadin' Johnny from November 26, 1962, released on Columbia. Songwriter Paul Henning and producers Don Law and Frank Jones. So there you go.
Okay, so that's interesting, and there's something else I want to add in here with that. So there's a guy who's got a channel called Archaics, and his name is Jason Brashears, and he's been studying the chronological timeline of human history. Mm-hmm. And what he is, I have to listen to some of his things 4 or 5 times to even get 1% of the knowledge that he is sharing with people. But in relation to what you just said with the ballad, there is an artificial intelligence component that goes along with what songs are popular, what TV shows are popular, what movies are popular, and the storyline is typically very similar. It takes you on a ride over time.
Yeah.
So it could be that what we're talking about is that there was a formula for the stories and the music, and obviously the networks had way more power and influence as to what became popular than we might think.
True. It was very much manufactured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if they were taking us for a ride with TV and movies and music, well, that's a part of the programming that we talk about. That's
very true. I mean, this is a deep dive into like culture building, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of why we're addressing the soon to be we'll do the Brady Bunch by Gilligan's Island, mm-hmm. all these things, because this is about culture building, right? Mm-hmm. And also like hearkening back to the Gilligan's Island episode is like, you had all these disparate socioeconomic groups on one place at one time trapped. Mm-hmm. And how do they work it out?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And in this case, I reminded like Minnie Pearl was on the show, right? And then mm-hmm. back then, she was in the Grand Ole Opry. She was actually very, very, very popular. Later to go on to Hee Haw and the rest of it, Mm-hmm. So iconic mm-hmm. figure in the United States at the time.
Yeah.
And, it's just interesting that the overlap here and how everything gets, tied in and how it affects the show. Also, I have to say, Beverly Hillbillies, they stand alone each episode, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's not a continuity necessarily. You don't have to watch all of them.
Right.
You could watch one of them and go, well, who the hell are these people? This is
Right.
interesting.
Right.
This is the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Unlike some of the other ones where if you miss something, you literally have to go back to find out what happened in the rift with the relationship. But you're right.
A good example would be MASH.
Yeah. You could not. You had to watch all the mashes together. And that's how those characters became even another layer of belovedness. Like, talk about people really felt like they knew the MASH characters.
They fell in love with them.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I remember the last episode of MASH when Hawkeye has his meltdown, right? And he loses his mind, that was very traumatic for people. Like, they did not see that coming. And I think that was the whole thing about whoever did that show. I can't remember who it was. I'll look it up. They wanted a finality. They wanted this thing to end. And boy, did they do it.
Yeah.
And it was on a dark, dark, dark note.
Yeah.
That was very 70s, by the way, Like all these movies where the protagonist actually dies in the end. Mother Jugs and Speed, all these movies like Billy the Kid. What was the other one with, the Western one where, how come I can't remember his name right? It doesn't matter. The protagonists die. It's a finality, Vanishing Point, all these movies. And it was this thing at the time, we're going to end this on the darkest note possible.
Right.
Because we're going to get the audience talking when they leave this
Exactly.
theater.
Well, they do, and they talk about those deaths.
Right.
It's like that is the main event in their personal life. And so even if you look at, as we go down this topic, all the different themes
Right.
that each of these shows represent, whether it's the theme of family, loyalty, like Brady Bunch, that we could just talk about standalone forever because it really interconnected everything. But yeah, that death piece, what did people do when they lost the life of their character? I wonder.
It ended.
Yeah.
So, they effectively terminated that storyline, which in a lot of ways is good because it actually that got revamped into later 2000s where like there was finality at these things. And the British on their BBC shows did a much better job than we ever did, I think. We're going to be talking about this show Green Acres pretty soon and Petticoat Junction. And here's something interesting about the crossover characters that were in the Beverly Hillbillies. Sam Drucker, the general store owner. He was in the Beverly Hillbillies. Joe Carson, the Shady Rest Hotel, he was also in that one. Betty Jo Bradley, the grandniece of Joe Carson from Petticoat Junction. We also had, where was it? Oh, Lisa Douglas, Ava Gabor, was also a crossover character, believe it or not. You had all sorts of people who were just going back and forth. And I think in the highlight of Hollywood, that was common.
Right.
Where you do crossovers to show to show to show. And it made it good because as you an audience member, you're like, oh, I know that guy. What are they doing on this show?
Yeah, as an audience member, we're like, wow, look at that. But internally, just imagine how productive that must be. You know the actor, you know what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. You just kind of know what they're going to do.
Right. Here's an interesting thing that people will not remember probably, but Roy Clark, the famous guitarist and also Hee Haw member, Roy Clark played a transvestite on Buddy against Buddy Ebsen's foil in the Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay, I've got to look at that one.
Exactly. It's all sorts of weird stuff, It is interesting, and it was a social commentary, and I just think it's nice to talk about these things because we all grew up with them.
Well, we all grew up with them. We're seeing what the long effect is on those programs that programmed us into our belief system, which became a kind of a faith that took us away from our internal compass.
Yes.
So now we can look at these programs and I can laugh at them because I know that they did their job.
Yep.
They shifted and shaped cultures.
Here's a little bit of trivia to take you out of the show. Here is from 1962 to 1964, Wednesdays 9 to 9:30, the Beverly Hillbillies was the #1 watched show in America.
What?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
Yeah, but by 1970 to 1971, it was not even in the top 30. It had sunk down to basically probably just stupid rerun kind of stuff, you know. It hadn't gone anywhere special. Well, I think that kind of wraps it for this conversation about Beverly Hillbillies. If anybody else has insight on their take on this show, I'd love to hear it. I know Sarita would love to hear it too, because I think there's a lot of really interesting things that can come out of this. By the way, Jim Backus, who played Mr. Howell, he was also on the Beverly Hillbillies in 1963.
See, Latham knows all this stuff, which I love. But he is right about, people calling in and sharing, because it's we don't know everything. These shows affected everybody in their own way and literally are parts of how we are.
Yeah, how we were formed.
Yeah.
How we treat people.
Yeah.
That's a good takeaway, and a great place to end this is I do think that the overall messaging was really wholesome in terms of these people are different. They come from a different background. They have no education. They call their pool a cement pond, and they have strange wild animals all over the property. And they're the nicest people on earth, and people continue to try to take advantage of them, but they persevere. Great message.
Yeah.
That is a good message. So we'll leave it there. Thank you to the audience for listening to yet another one of our go-throughs on An American Sitcom Classic. And next time, we'll probably be talking about Green Acres. A lot to talk about there.
Love it. Thanks, Latham.
Thanks,
everyone.
Sarita. Thank you, Ba.
Thank you, Nathan.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Sarita in the Stream. New content coming every week. You can count on it. To contact us, drop us a line at latham@madmanastudios.com. That's LATHAM @madmana, MADMANA studios.com. All rights reserved, Madmana Studios.